Welcome to this explainer, where we decode the politics, the power, and the sheer drama that the daily headlines just don't fully capture. We do this by diving directly into the fascinating source material to give you the clear, structured picture. Now, if you've been following the ongoing saga of the West Bengal elections, you already know this is a state that never, ever does anything quietly, right? We've seen staggering 93% voter turnouts, massive controversies. But right before the final results, Bengal gave us one more incredible story to unpack. Okay, let's set the scene. I want you to picture this with absolute dead stillness. It's midnight in Kolkata. The Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, is standing outside a school in the southern part of the city. Now, she's not there for a massive political rally. She's not there to give a speech. She is standing outside an EVM Strongroom, that is the heavily guarded facility holding the electronic voting machines. And what's really wild is that she stays inside that compound for nearly 4 tense hours. With results literally just days away and central forces attempting to block her entry, the entire state was left asking one massive question. What exactly is she afraid of? To understand the gravity of this, let's break down exactly what happened with a quick timeline. The escalation kicks off on the evening of Thursday, April 30th. The chief minister is watching television and she sees something that immediately sets off alarm bells. She doesn't wait around. She orders her convoys straight to Sakawat Memorial School in Bhabanipur. Now, get this. This isn't just any counting center. This specific strong room houses the EVMs for her very own constituency. When she arrives late at night, the central forces at the gate actually refuse to let her in. Think about that for a second. The sitting chief minister is stopped at a gate in her own state. But as a candidate, she has the legal right to inspect the strong room. So she pushes past them, goes inside, and she waits. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3. 4 whole hours pass in the dead of night until she finally leaves at 12:07 a.m. on May 1st. And this wasn't just an isolated incident. While she was waiting down south, the tension was spilling over everywhere. Across the city in North Kolkata, senior TMC leaders Kunal Ghosh and Shashi Panja staged a simultaneous sit-in outside another strong room. Supporters from both the TMC and the opposition BJP began facing off in the streets right outside the building. The entire city was essentially on a knife's edge. So, what could possibly justify this kind of extraordinary midnight visit? Let's look at the first perspective, the TMC allegations. When Mamata Banerjee finally walked out of that compound, she spoke to the reporters waiting in the dark, and she absolutely did not hold back. She stated point blank, "We found manipulations at many places." She claims she rushed over because of complaints and pointed out that the central forces initially blocked her. She was incredibly emphatic that people's votes must be protected, and she issued a very direct warning. If there is any plan to tamper with the counting process, it will not be tolerated. But she didn't just leave it at a warning. Following this standoff, she issued a massive, sweeping directive. She called on every single TMC worker across West Bengal to maintain a 24-hour continuous vigil over EVM strong rooms until the counting officially began on May 4th. So the really crucial takeaway here is this. The chief minister actively deployed her own political party as a parallel watch force over the official election machinery. But we absolutely have to look at the other side of the coin. Let's pivot to the BJP and the Election Commission's response. We have two fiercely competing narratives playing out here. On one side, the TMC is claiming suspicious activity and active manipulation. On the flip side, the BJP's Amit Malviya responded within minutes, calling the protests completely baseless. His explanation for what Mamata Banerjee saw on TV, he stated it was simply the routine segregation of ballots happening in the corridor of the strong room premises. According to the BJP, this was a standard, harmless process. And importantly, they pointed out that the Election Commission had already notified all observers and returning officers about this well in advance. And Malviya didn't just defend the process. He launched a really harsh counterattack. He publicly accused the TMC protesters of being involved in the chit fund scam, going as far as to claim that they came to power on, and these are his exact words, stolen mandates. The political temperature was absolutely boiling over at this point. To complete this second perspective, we have to look to the official referee, the Election Commission of India. Cutting through all the political shouting, the Election Commission officially stepped in and confirmed that all strongroom procedures were in fact followed perfectly, correctly, and securely. All right, so we have two completely conflicting versions of one highly dramatic night. To really grasp what's going on beneath the surface, let's decode the strategy by asking 3 critical questions. Our first crucial question asks about the underlying motives here: protecting democracy or protecting Bhabanipur? Remember the specific location of this midnight drama? That Strongroom housed the electronic voting machines for Bhabanipur. That is Mamata Banerjee's very own home constituency. Think about the political stakes for a second. Imagine a scenario where her party, the TMC, wins the state overall, but she personally loses her own seat in Bhabanipur. That would be an absolute political catastrophe for her on a personal level. So it begs a totally fair question. Was this midnight mobilization really about protecting the democratic process of the entire state, or was it hyper-focused on securing her own seat? Let's move to our second question, which focuses on the extreme tension created by the timing of this entire event. Was this a genuine, spontaneous alarm or preemptive groundwork? Look at how this timeline builds. The voting officially ended on April 29th. The results are scheduled for May 4th. This massive standoff happened right smack in the middle on May 1st. In that agonizing, high-tension gap between the final ballot being cast and the results being declared, every single move is magnified. So you have to ask, was this an honest, panicked reaction to a perceived threat? Or is it a highly calculated strategy to lay the groundwork to cry foul just in case the final results on May 4th turn out to be a disappointment? Our third and final question zeroes in on a much larger systemic issue that goes way beyond just West Bengal. What does an event like this say about the deep-seated lack of trust in India's institutions, specifically the electronic voting machines? Because, this isn't a new debate. Opposition parties, including the TMC, have repeatedly raised intense doubts about EVMs over many election cycles. In response, the Election Commission consistently and firmly denies any possibility of tampering. Furthermore, whenever challenged, the courts have consistently upheld the integrity of the EVMs. Yet, despite the official denials and the legal validations, the suspicion simply never dies. It remains so incredibly strong that a sitting chief minister literally doesn't trust the very machine that might, in just a few days, actually re-elect her. That is fascinating. 72. That is the number of hours left from the moment of this midnight standoff until Bengal finally knew its definitive verdict. 72 hours of waiting, watching, and accusing. As we wrap up this analysis, we're left with a really stark, defining image of this election cycle. 2 entirely different versions of events. 1 chaotic night, and a chief minister waiting 4 hours outside a locked metal gate in the dark, while her party workers sat on the roads across the city, acting as citizen guards over government machinery. It tells you absolutely everything you need to know about the fever-pitch temperature of this political battle. And that brings us to our final thought for you to take away today. Looking at the timeline, the stakes in Bhabanipur, the official responses, and that long history of EVM skepticism, what do you think? Was this midnight standoff a genuine, desperate concern to protect a fragile democracy? Or was it a masterclass in pure political theater designed to totally control the narrative? It's an amazing question, and the answer might just redefine how we view the mechanics of modern elections. Definitely keep that in mind as you watch political events unfold.